Good afternoon, friends. So, the topic that I will speak to you about is digital, digital power. What is the adoption rate of the various digital tools which have been put around us? How are many other industries behaving? Are we the bellwether industry? Are we setting the pace and setting the trend, or are we followers? And what are the options for the distribution community, for IFAs, to move forward in terms of how they structure their business, how they add productivity to their own setups, and how they move forward in terms of engaging with clients? So digital, as you know, across industries, not just our sector, not just in financial services or mutual funds. It is transforming businesses, service delivery, purchase patterns, how people select a product. They don't go to a car showroom to book a test drive now, but they start looking at comparison sites. And some of the comparison sites also give an option to take a bank loan and sometimes help them dispose of the second-hand car. So the entire process is beginning much before the first visit to the showroom. And this is very different to how things used to be 5 years back. Embracing digital power is not an option, and I will show you numbers all from our country. There's no global context here of how things are changing, how the millennials are behaving, how the under 40 population is engaging with digital media, including social. And therefore, for those of us who believe that it is still okay to either accept checks or do a paper KYC or restrict our business, and I'll show you what happened in 2018 in terms of what our own behavior was. I think, I'm sure I'll leave you with an insight or two, although the topic itself has been spoken about. I'm sure all of you are familiar. A speaker who came a little ahead of me spoke about one of the platforms and how he did 500 SIPs in a day. So the topic is familiar, but I just want to contextualize it and give you a perspective which will help. So look at these numbers. A billion is 100 crore. So we are a country with 100 crore mobile phones, 40 crore people with internet access, growing to 80 crore people with internet access. And therefore, anything and everything that those people do, and this is not new data, I'm sure all of you have come across this. But the striking thing is below that earlier, internet, mobile phones, digital was associated with three things. It was associated with men, more than both the sexes, with metros, which are the larger cities, and with millennials. Now, who are millennials? These are people who kind of turned adults, let's say by 2000 or around that. So people who were born after 1980 to about 2000, which I will also show you now forms almost 50% of your new clientele. Your new clientele whose age was skewed at one time, 50% of that is now under 40, and this number will continue to grow. So from being 3M specific, now we have both men and women, young and old, urban and rural, and people using internet access in the vernacular language, so Hindi, Gujarati, Marathi, Tamil, Telugu, all of that. The trend will only deepen. It's not going to go away anywhere. Like I said, digital is transforming everything that we do. We are all users of Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram at least. Most of you are on Twitter yourselves. And you see that whether it is socializing, whether it's making product comparisons, whether it is downloading the child's school homework, whether it is having a small group for, all parents today in schools organize themselves around these small groups. This kind of infiltration of digital media is everywhere. And there is an explosion in the amount of information available. You just have to Google and you will get all kinds of perspectives. People nowadays also misuse it. We start doing self-medication. We become half doctors. We start arrogating or ascribing to ourselves strengths that we don't have. But the fact is there is a large amount of information available, and most people are consuming it at a pace much faster than earlier. Where is the mega trend playing out? I think everywhere, in financial services, in manufacturing, in retail, in healthcare. But the people that we thought will be behind the curve, which is the government, seems to have both caught up and is now getting ahead of most other places. So when you see how does the registrar of births and deaths behave, you will see a complete difference. Land records are getting digitized across the country, and all of you saw in the budget speech that earlier a tax refund which used to take about a year to come has started now coming in maybe about 60 to 70 days. And the promise is that they want to move it to days. And the words that we used was 1 day. So we hope we get there. But every sector, including the government, is kind of using all this to their advantage, to our advantage. The trend is moving. The train has left the station. There is no other option but to be in the train rather than be outside. And I put this chart, it names a few companies, but that just to give effect. That today when you set up your business, earlier it was said, look, you must have your website, you must create some digital tools of your own, and then you can get started. That itself was painful. But today in various other industries, and a little in our own, you see that it's actually completely applicable to cab companies, the ride-hailing companies. It is applicable to small hotels, which is OYO. That you set up a business, you're a property owner, but after that somebody has set up a platform, you just go and hook onto it, and once you've hooked, things begin to happen, which means you get an access to customers, you get an access to all the utilities, you can do all your operations, you figure out a way to move money. And in our industry, you know that if you're able to do a KYC, you're able to move money, and you're able to put in an electronic transaction. That's really it. That's really the core, sum and substance of what we do most of the time. And there are ecosystems around us that I just showed you. Similar ecosystems will get built in our industry too. One thing is also clear, that the service benchmark that your investor compares us to doesn't come from the world of mutual funds. Your investor probably checked out of a hotel at 6 in the morning. So he experienced the hotel checkout process. He booked and could see that it was going to be with him in 4 minutes, and it actually came in exactly 4 minutes. And then he experiences an airline at 10 o'clock. When he experiences us at 2 in the afternoon, he is making a comparison with all of them. He compares us to an airline, he compares us to the hotel, and he compares us to the ride-hailing company and their service. And then his question is that if I can see the cab coming in 4 minutes, how come your statement takes 3 days to come? And that's the question he's asking. And he will continue to ask. So therefore, whether it is self-service or electronification or mailbags, and there are various tools available, we've got to hook ourselves onto them, because the investor will continue asking that question. He is he's not a citizen of the mutual fund world like we are. He's a citizen of various worlds. He experiences various things, and he'll continue to benchmark us and will not just think of the context of our industry and then tell us whether we are good, bad, or not so good. Sorry, I'm just trying to move this forward. I saw this chart, very interesting experience, of what the Indian Railways did. And this is about a mother who was in a bit of distress. She was traveling from Varanasi to Delhi and had an infant with her, and discovered that she'd run out of milk and the pantry did not have milk. She actually tweeted to the Ministry of Railways. At a certain time, you can see all that. The Ministry of Railways identified the nearest station. This was Fatehpur in UP. If anyone comes from UP, you understand how sophisticated those places used to be. But within half an hour, the station master at Fatehpur comes and delivers milk to her. And that's the answer of a tweet. Now, she kept her faith in the system, saying, there is a handle, and that handle will help her access a basic service like getting milk, which, by the way, the railways don't even, they don't even promise it. We haven't paid them for it. They don't promise it. But it got done. And a lot of this stuff, if you go and read on the internet, also happens in the Ministry of External Affairs. Twitter handles are used by people to ask for visas, for airlifting, for various things. Not a formal way to do things, but things get done. And when we see what is digital influence, this is a study done on urban consumers, so it's more urban, less rural. but it checks for any form of digital usage in a purchase process. And it is surprising, while we are up there at 70%, where we belong in financial services, I was surprised that even for a car selection, the deployment of digital, and I suspect it is less for purchase, it's more for comparison and finding out where to buy the insurance and where to get the loan from. 77%, 3 out of 4. The journey almost starts there. So that's your investor today. And I'll show you the behavior of new investors that all of us acquired in 2018 and which cities they come from and what age they are. That when 3 out of 4 of them, even for selecting a car, are going to the net and using various sites, or just Googling and figuring out where help is available, they are doing the same for our product class also. Whether we accept it or not, that remains a reality. And this is some data for you. This is not industry data. This is more CAMS data. But I just wanted to show this to you so that you understand the depth of the perspective. Over 40 lakh new investors, or what is called new PANs in this industry, were acquired by the industry in calendar 2018. A major share, the highest contribution from a single class coming from yourself. So you can give yourself a big hand. But when you see what this investor is, 60% of them come from the top 30 towns. 60% of them also came in through SIPs, which means it's not a day's engagement. He's got to continue paying us. And Sanjay spoke about perpetual SIPs, lifetime. So we want him to pay for 10 years and 20 years and 30 years and not just 3 or 5 years. So he has to continue paying. Sometime he will change his job, the bank account will change, the address will change. He will need help. The values will go down or go up. He will ask you questions on whether he should suspend some of the payments, whether he should continue. He's reading a lot of stuff in the newspapers, but needs lifetime engagement. 50%, like I said, are under 40 years. 5 years ago, this number would have been probably 30%. But that mean age of the new investor is dropping very fast. And when you see that this man is actually, or woman is actually a millennial, which means they were born, let's say around 1980, their behavior tends to be very different. But what did we do? 77% of these people, when we brought them in, we used some form of paper. Now, when I talk to you, people tell me, look, the eKYC got suspended, Aadhaar regulations got changed, and we are forced to do some of this, and rightfully so. But wherever we can make a choice, wherever the selection is in our hands, I think the trend is very clear that your investor, you know where he lives. 60% of them live in the metros. 50% of them are under 40. And they are using 3 out of 4 times means like electronic means to look for cars and buy cars. Their behavior for our industry is not going to be any different. And therefore, while most of you have done adoption, and one of the gentlemen who came before me talked about doing 500 SIPs in a day on a platform, and the platform told him whether the count was 238 or 200. And that's the beauty of the whole thing, because it's first time right, live processing rather than asynchronous 5 pieces of paper going in 5 different directions and then converging after 3 or 4 days. That doesn't happen, which is in everybody's interest. As I get to the end of what I thought I'll deliver, you now have platforms from the exchanges. You have enough new offerings from the RTAs and from the AMCs. Across the board, even something like Aadhaar-based eKYC, which got suspended about 3 or 4 months back, I think we made effort, the RTAs have made effort, that there are enough properties available for you to now start adopting. I know it's still early days, but at the peak, all of you had turned, I think, almost all new KYCs, 20% of them were coming through the electronic mode. I think those are the numbers we have to benchmark ourselves against and continue lifting the bar. There will always be some roadblocks on the way. Similarly, on digital transaction submission, sourcing statements of accounts for your investors, helping them do non-financial transactions, I think the breadth is very large. And I personally believe that all of us owe it to the industry to put productivity back in the industry, in the day of the investor, in the day of the asset manager, their coverage teams, in our own days, and make sure that we access information in the simplest way, in the lumpiest way, and in the least intermediated way, which means we're not going through 3 people to get that piece of information. We have a standard way of doing it. And believe you me, all these utilities are built And you can talk to your funds and you can talk to us to make sure that you are acquainted with them. I also just wanted to leave a small nugget with you that in terms of our own integrated distributor platform, we will be declaring something in the coming weeks. So all of you who've been asking us this question on when we will bring out an integrated platform, I think we are very close to that time. So I'm close to the end of my session, but the message that I want to leave you with is that this trend is real, it is for keeps. The biggest thing is your investor has adopted it, and if we are asynchronous and if our behavior is different, for that investor to find mental and emotional affinity for us because we don't speak the same language he speaks, I think that will be difficult. So my message and my suggestion is latch onto the train, latch onto all these capabilities as fast as possible, make yourself more productive, go and sell more, and let's drive this industry into greater and greater heights of success. Thank you.